Yeah, sure. So I'm Vincent Chan. I'm currently 26 years old. I work as a online fitness coach. So I basically built my own business. I started it just about like 2 months ago, but it's always been something that I was thinking about doing. So like up to that point, I was just basically just like taking like very small steps towards uh, my business, and now it's actually like up and running. Yeah, so as a kid, I was very playful. I liked running around, just doing like stupid stuff like riding my bike around the neighborhood and all that. And when I went to school, I was like sort of somewhat athletic. Like I was pretty like quick. So I was one of the quicker kids in like PE and stuff like that. But I never really worked on like building like muscle or anything like that. So during my whole time as an adolescent, I was always like scrawny, and it's not that big of a deal initially, because like when you're like a kid, usually what's more important is just being social, like hanging out with people that you like, hang out with your friends, hang out with people that actually talk to you and all of that. So during my last 2 years, I took a weights class, and they just could run you through like some movements like the bench, the squat, power clean. And I built a little bit of strength. And I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of fun. But afterwards, I couldn't really maintain it because the nearest gym to me was about like a mile away. So I would have to either bike there or have my parent, or yeah, have either my mom or my dad drive me over there. So it was very like inconsistent, but I did like keep it up for a little bit until eventually I'm just like, you know what, this is too much, so I'm just gonna stop. So like yeah, after high school and like up to my first 2 years in college, I basically just had like a very on and off gym routine. Like I didn't really care too much about getting buff or like lifting weights or anything like that. I was just there occasionally with like another friend who lifted weights and stuff like that. But eventually one day I was talking to a bodybuilder friend, and he got himself like pretty jacked and all of that. And he was telling me about like taking protein powder, just law lifting heavy weights and all that. And I just got curious and just like, okay, I've done this stuff in the past before, but maybe it's time like I tried like to be a little bit more consistent with it. Like ultimately, the one word that got me to start my whole journey is curiosity. I wasn't even like thinking about getting jacked. I wasn't thinking about getting big. I wasn't thinking about like any of the technical stuff. All I thought about was, hey, you know what? I just wanted to play bench, right? Because as a high schooler, when you do like weights class, everyone was just all the dudes were just obsessed with like getting more plates on like their lifts, right? Like the first people that benched like 135, that was like pretty impressive as a high schooler, especially if like you've never lifted weights before, because you'd be like, oh, look at me. I have one of the big plates on the bar now. And so getting two, that's like top of the line. So I was just like, all right, I want that now. And I'm just going to go to the gym. I'm just going to bench press and whatever, and randomly just, try and see if, I can get there. So I was probably around like 130 pounds at the time. And the first time I went back in, I like tested my max, and it was around like 115. So I had like a ways to go. But eventually over time, like took maybe like a few months, I was able to get to that point. And I was just doing like pretty random stuff. It wasn't like a focused routine or anything. It was just literally just do like 3, 4 sets of bench, and then maybe some like bicep curls or something, very unstructured. So eventually I networked with a guy who was doing powerlifting through a video game. Like most of y'all probably know what League of Legends is, but
Yeah.
I was playing some like I was playing in some like school league tournaments, and I built up. I got into this team with some like through a mutual friend of a roommate, and I met this guy who was doing powerlifting, and he got me into that. So I started doing that too. And I was like kind of amazed at like how strong you can get through doing from like powerlifting because my routine started actually getting some like focus. So like yeah, I had like you know a few plates on like most of my lifts, but once I started powerlifting like that, like escalated like really quickly. Like I never thought that I could squat like 3 plates, but I did that in like a few months, and I never thought that I could like deadlift 4 plates. And yeah, I was able to do that all within the school gym. So I was like, damn, okay, all right. Now I'm getting like crazy strong. So like the nice thing with powerlifting is that it always like gives you like some type of goal, which is like to lift the most amount of weight as possible, right? So you always want to try like maximize your strength and ability in that field. So as I was doing that, I was looking forward to like actually doing some like meets. And yeah, after doing a few meets, it kind of like stagnated for me because like there's usually like a limit that you run into with like your strength based because I was only doing this for like a few years. I found that it was very hard for me to gain like additional strength at that point. Plus, like physique wise, powerlifting is not like the greatest because it's all about maximum load on your lifts. So if you care about physique, all you have to do is just meet like certain weight threshold to lift in like certain weight groups. So like yeah, while I was like jacked and built with muscle, I was also like kind of fat. Like most fat sits on like my abdominal area. So I basically was like a jacked dad bod dude.
Mm.
I was just like I was like, okay, yeah, I'm really strong, but I looked like really chunky. So I decided like after 4 years of doing powerlifting to transition to calisthenics and just lean out my body instead. So that's how I built more of the defined physique. So from powerlifting, I was able to get most of my muscle mass, so like my thighs. And then for your calisthenics, I was able to like lean it out to show more of the muscle definition. And just like I think my general like fitness goals right now are just to have a more mobile body and like a more aesthetic one. So now I'm able to like walk or like run with no pain. Also just like able to do general strength movements. So I'm very happy with what I'm doing right now. And yeah, there's still plenty of more things that I want to do. So that's where I am. Yeah, so going back to when I was a kid, when it comes to interacting with like girls and stuff, I wasn't really good at it. So the only girl that I had like sort of regular interaction with was my sister, and
Mm.
he wasn't very close to her when we were kids. I just saw like someone else that was in my house, right? She was different. Like I was a boy, she was a girl, so she's in the Barbies and the Bionicles. Like we didn't have common, but yeah, when it came to like actually talking to people outside of the family,
Mm.
so like school, I was actually really shy. Like I was very uncomfortable just talking to people that weren't my friends. In fact, when I was in kindergarten, I was very uncomfortable talking to anyone at all. It was a very rough period for me because I thought that I was like very different, one being like Asian to being like someone who had lived at home all my life, and then all of a sudden I was just thrust into like a group of other kids that I didn't like, all strangers.
Mhm.
So yeah, it took me a while to get acclimated, but with girls, I was always like really bad with them up to the point where I just went like, you know what, I'm just gonna treat them as just people that I can talk with and just small talk, people that I can just do small talk with. So I never like actually befriended any girls like as actual friends, maybe just like this, but they were people that I didn't like have any deep conversations with, and I did like have a few crushes here and there, and I actually tried to like act upon them because so as someone I was someone who was like pretty decisive, so it took me like a lot of courage to like be able to like actually try something. And when I did it, it was always like very terrible. Like the first girl I actually asked out, I didn't ask her out in person. I just wrote like a note and I put it in like her binder,
Mhm.
and she just looked at it, she's like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
So yeah, basically I did like zero dating in high school. Like after that incident, I just gave up. I'm just like, I'm just gonna focus on living like my high school life with my video games and all that. So I was also the same way during college. Like I didn't, I like to stick in my own like bubble,
Mhm.
not people. I barely made any friends in my first few years in college just because of this bubble. Like I said earlier, like I was dealing with a bunch of strangers and I was obligated to talk to anyone. So I did. But then like during my last year of college, we already knew we already know what like Tinder is like, right? But it was like very new back the early 20s. So when I decided to try using it, it was only out for like 2. So I was like, I'm just gonna mess around. I'm just gonna download this app. I'm just gonna like see what it's like.
Mhm.
So I just like put some pictures on there and I was just like swiping away, and I had like no matches for like a few weeks, and like I didn't really care. All right. I was just messing around. But then I matched with one girl at like 4 a.m. or something. Because I would stay up really late playing video games with the roommates. I matched with her at like 4 a.m. And it's like, oh, wow, girl, okay, I'm not going to do anything. And she actually messaged me at that time. So I'm like, oh, okay, we got kind of got something started. I'll just sleep on it and I'll come back to it. So after that, we actually had like this full-fledged on conversation within the app. And at this point, I was just like, okay, she's actually interested. So what should I do with people that are interested in me? I should ask them out. So I've finally gained up enough courage after having like a long ass conversation. I was just like, okay, maybe we should hang out together, like sushi or something. And he agreed. I was
Mm.
like, oh damn, it's getting real now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I basically had something set up, and she was a little bit more excited. After we set up a date, I was like, okay, I don't really feel the need to like drag out a conversation until we meet. But she just kept it up. And also like during this time, uh, Snapchat was pretty prominent too. So the only people I was snapping at the time was like my roommates and like a few of our mutual friends. But that night she added me on Snapchat and we started a little conversation there. And things were doing good. So then next morning I wake up and she sends me like some snaps of her like telling a joke with like some selfies. And me not, I'm just like I'm kind of excited because I'm just like, oh wow, this girl is like sending me, personal stuff now. And what did I decide to do? I decided to screenshot both of the stuff, and conversation just died.
Mm.
Like I didn't know that Snapchat snitches on you. I didn't know that like tells the screenshot. I thought I could get away just like with using the phone, but yeah, back it, like I understand now that creepy and all that. But back then I didn't know that Snapchat did that. So after I did that, like she basically quieted down, and then right before we were supposed to meet, she just basically told me she wasn't feeling it, and
Mm.
basically it canceled out. And that because like I started like questioning my value as a person because I was just like, what the hell? Like we were on like the cups of like starting something good, and like maybe I was able to like I would be able to like finally gain some experience in this field, and I just messed it up over some like stupid thing. So like after that, it really hurt me because like first time I actually felt like that.
Mhm.
Like after that incident, I just like continued life as usual, graduated, didn't go on a single date during college, just that one Tinder match incident. And after that, it took maybe like 8 months or so before I actually went on my first date. And I was able to actually see like how I would interact with a girl. And during the date, because like I didn't know how dates go. I don't know how dates go, right? It's like, oh, you're just hanging out with a girl, right? So I do what I normally do. I just try to be friendly. I try to like have conversations, whatever, just take her to my favorite places and all that.
Mhm.
And yeah, the date was fun, but at the end of it, I didn't know what to do. So I'm just like, all right, cool. We did something. I'm gonna go home now. See ya.
Yeah.
I don't even know if like I hugged her or anything like that, but we just left it at that. So yeah. Let me think. I mean, we did go on a second date, but I had an incident with a friend. Like we played like a video game together, and he was being really stupid. So she showed up on the second date with no makeup on, and
Mhm.
she seemed like very uninterested. There was a point where I just like questioned like why she was even there, but
Yeah.
play it off. So yeah, well, my early dating like experiences were like a struggle. I had to be like not at all. So I did like when I do things, I want to get used to like the process, right? Like I want to have like a plan so that I don't feel weird when I go through things. But when I'm on like these dates and I have like no experience, like it was really tough because I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna go with the flow and just see what happens. And what happened was nothing happened because I had no plan. Because these girls, they actually had expectations of me to like, escalate things, and me trying to be, I tried to refrain myself from doing that because I had an experience. I didn't know that I should be like a little bit more aggressive, actually
Yeah.
try to communicate a little bit more that you and just being like friendly and all that.
Mhm.
So, like over time, I just gradually gained more experience by going on more dates.
Mhm.
Then I also just started um, just thinking about what I could do to get better with each one. And this whole time, I was also like improving like the other aspects of my life, right? So obviously, there was the fitness part where I was getting like stronger stuff, but with that, I also like so basically my like whole life after college was focused on fitness and on creating. So as I was doing my fitness part, okay, my body's getting better. So with online dating, it's all about presentation. Right? It's all about your pictures and like your bio. So when it
Yeah.
comes to like communicating your presentation, like the real truth, I care more about your pictures as a guy rather than so you can put like whatever you want. No one cares that much about your personality or about your look.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I need to focus on looking better now. So that's where I started like practicing wearing better outfits. So like if you notice, like I wear like fit clothes now that fit my
Mhm.
body and can actually like, put up. But back then I was wearing like just Nike swoosh t-shirts,
Mhm.
just like medium size shirts, the like sleeve were kind of open. I
Mhm.
was like, okay, I need more trendy clothes, and I need like start styling my hair a little bit. I kind of had just like the Asian like comb over, so I started doing some of the haircuts and all that.
Mhm.
So work on presentation, did work on communication. So I realized that when you go on these dates, it's important to like be polarizing because like you have to risk
Okay.
rejection in order to like escalate dates and stuff. So like when I'm on these dates, it's very easy to get friend zoned. Just being very passive when you're just sitting there. Someone who's interested in you and they want you to make a move, but don't. So the whole night they think they know you're like inexperienced. They know I'm very confident. So and that's like a huge turn. When you're like saying when you're doing things that make people feel a little bit different, then that's when like the magic starts happening. Like when it comes to like dating, it's all emotional spikes, especially for like girls. So like when you're on these dates, when you do something like touch like their hand or something like that over just like some interaction. So I'll mix like some type of joke and then it'll be something that they relate to. Then I'll like try to get them to do like a high five or something, and then like that's how you start like the physical. Because now you get them comfortable with you like your touch, and you do a little bit more. Now. You're not gonna like touch like their thigh or anything like that. Just like start with like their hand, because you want to lead it up to the point where they feel comfortable like kissing you, because like that's what people do when they're interested in each other, right? They kiss and then they get more intimate after that. So it took me a while to gather up the courage to escalate to the point of having my first kiss. And when I did have it, like I felt amazing because I was like, oh my God, it was this easy. Like I was capable of doing this the whole time. But I just like was scared of it for like no reason at all. And like once I got past that, like yeah, it was like a whole new world. And now just like every date from then on, like I could push things where I wanted them to go. Because now I was no longer afraid. I was no longer just like gonna sit there and just have a nice conversation, only to just end things awkwardly. I was now like finishing dates with the girl, right?
Right.
So it's all just like a confidence thing, but it's also just like there's many aspects to it, and you want to like try to take the time to address each one as you go. So I'd say like the most important thing when it comes to dating is just you just have to go out there. You just have to like experience it because you like with people, the human factor, it's different for everyone, right? Everyone has like a different way of how they communicate, how they present themselves, and you need to figure out like how you're doing that now, and also just like how to get better at it. So like it's just like kind of just like preparing like for like a boxing match or something like that. So like if you decide to start early, maybe you'll just like spar with someone at your local gym. But if you decide instead to like wait until you're like in a better place, just like, oh, let me wait until I get my job down. Let me wait until I get my career set. Let me wait until blah blah blah. You put all these roadblocks in, like mental roadblocks or like actual roadblocks in front of you, and you're like, okay, I'm ready now. Let's go. You step into that boxing ring. Guess who's the first in person you're gonna have to fight? Mike Tyson. Instead of getting like sucker punched by just someone that's probably as experienced as you, you're just gonna get like smashed into the ground. It's gonna like hurt way more than if you just take all these like small little losses or get wins. Like also that's the thing. Like we always underestimate our ability. So like even though I had to build up my experience through all these losses, someone else could actually start with wins instead, because like maybe they go off a girl who actually finds it very charming that all they like talk about. Oh yeah, all they like talking about is like video games and stuff like that. Or maybe the girl is like she's more dressed herself. Like if you're not, you're afraid to touch her, but she's not, and she makes all the moves for you. That can give you the confidence to start doing that with the next one, or like maybe you just stick with her. But just like all these hypotheticals, right? But just like the most important part is just you just need to get out there. You just need to experience things. You just need to like start figuring out what works for you, what doesn't, and just address them. So like, yeah, sure, I'm like buff and stuff now, right? But I used that as like the foundation for fixing everything else, right? So the fitness built up my confidence and also gave me like a really good physical image. But then I had to address my fashion sense to better present it to other people, right? And then I had to also deal with my ability to communicate so that I could actually effectively go through these dates the way that I want to instead of just getting friends of. So it's all just about dealing with different aspects and just gaining experience. Yeah, I do have a lot of thoughts on it, actually. Yeah, I think that was something that I was gonna try to address, but you ended up segueing to it. So, but yeah, anyways, so yeah, obviously this all occurs just in the West, right? Like in the East, like you know, Asians are Asians, right? We're the
Yeah.
majority. The culture there is, the norm, but over
Mhm.
here, different. Like we're living in the white man's world.
Mhm.
So basically, right now the Western world is it's very reliant on entitlement, like points, like people. We basically have like a lot of our basic needs met, right? We a lot of us have like homes, food, and shelter. So like we're all just able to like live together. But the thing about like racism and all that is that people just like to feel like pompous, especially like people that aren't minorities. So like I noticed that a lot of like um non-minorities, like just like white people, right? They grow up very comfortable, yeah, as the majority. So they like to look down on a lot of people usually. So like that's where most of like the racist people that I actually dealt with are just like general white people. But yeah, I guess just it's very hard to structure my thoughts because there's a lot of things that I want to address. But yeah, basically just it's not really up to us to decide what like the norm and the cultures are, but more of like the people that were here first, and that's like white people. So like yeah, they like looking down on us, like they like playing on stereotypes because it's easy. Like you just go for the media, what you see. It's all like you basically see like no Asian people. So basically society like the societal media sees us as invisible. So when they actually do see like an actual person, they think of all the stereotypes because they haven't like actually like interact with people, and it's very easy for them to do that too because we're also very passive. Like if someone just like goes up to like an Asian person and just like insults them, they're not gonna like fight back right away, right? They'll probably just like look at them like, what the hell was that? And then just like go. And repeated instances of that gives racists comfort to keep doing that. And also just when it comes to like self-improvement, most Asians, especially like men, they get really comfortable with their home life, so they don't take the chance to like improve themselves. Like I like to think that as an Asian male, the things that I went through and the changes that I made to myself are like the minority, maybe like less than 10% of guys in the West like improve themselves to my extent. Like like my norm back then, right, was just scrawny Asian kid who just played video games all day. But I know so many people that grew up and stayed that way. So like obviously it's an easy pickings for them when they go outside, and like it reinforces the norm that hey, these are what this is what Asian people are like. We're just dudes that just like playing video games. And then like the women, right, they get fetishized. They're not people, they just looked at as sexual objects, because also the women, they also look to the white males for social support. Like they be with them because it makes them feel more significant in the Western world because it elevates their status. That's what they believe, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like a whole like mess with all that. But specifically with like Asian males, like we have a lot that we have to deal with, right? We have like a lot of family pressure, like we need to succeed on it. We have a lot of career pressure, like the stereotype of be doctor, be lawyer, be someone successful, right? We have all of that pressure, and then we also have like a lot of like personal pressure to deal with all of that. So like it's not like reinforced by society that we should work on ourselves, that we should like go lift weights or actually improve our ability. It's more like career focused, like we should study more, we should get better grades, like we should do all of this, and then somehow when we're like set in our career and all that, we will magically find our wife and have the happy family magically. Like our parents, they don't care how it all happens. Like they have this expectation of like the whole wedding and all that, like the red kipao on your Chinese wife, and then like you in your suit. Like they're not picturing like all the whole process it takes to get there, because like the reality is when you're closeted and you stay at home and develop no social skills, the type of women that you want in this like image, they don't want you. They want people that are like confident. They like also just like in the West, they're more drawn to Western men because that's what society tells them. And so a lot of like there's just so much going on, but also just like in like the online dating sphere, right? With the statistics and all that.
Mm.
Yeah, it's pretty true to an extent. Like I feel like when it comes to like game matches, I would get like a lot less than just like my average white friends.
Mm.
So just like this whole process of me improving my presentation and all that, it all plays a factor. So it also depends on like your location. Like there are some places where being an Asian male is more advantageous than like not being one. So I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so I mainly lived in Portland for a little bit. It's very liberal, it's very white. So over here, uh, it would be like really rough for me to get like good quality matches. Like as I improved, I was able to get like a lot more, but overall it was very rough. But if I was somewhere maybe like California and all that, it would probably be like a lot easier because there's a lot more people, and the demographic is like there's a lot more Asians there, and also just like people are more open to it. So yeah, location and presentation, but overall, just like you don't want to get too hung up on statistics, right? So
Right.
just like I was saying, like I already know that in some places my race plays, it hinders me. That's a fact, but it's something that like I don't really care about. It's just like okay, there will be people out there for me regardless of who I am or what I look like, and it's up to me to go look for them. It's up to me to present myself the best way as possible. And it's up to me to like put in all the work and make sure I take care of like the whole process in order for me to increase my chances of finding someone to be with, right?
Right.
So, like we need to stop just like blaming all these outside forces because like everyone has the same chance to use the platform and all of that. We just want to like blame everything but what we're able to do. Like we like to complain a lot about things we have no control over, but in the end, all you can really do is just focus on yourself and what you can do, right?
Right.
Yeah, so before I do that, I do want to like add some input onto everything that you just said earlier. So from what I've seen, and I think most people will agree with this, but online dating is a very like vain arena. Just like it really depends on um like the arena that you use, right? So like meeting someone in person is completely different than online dating because with online dating, right, your presentation is it's all visual based. So like with with your pictures and with some words. But when you're in person, you can demonstrate so much more, like your personality, like people can actually see you and they can respond in real time to you. Just think about just you're like trying to get something to eat, right? If you're just sitting at home, you basically have infinite options and you can decide whatever you want. But because of that, you kind of have like choice overload, right? Where
Mm.
you have so many things to choose from that it makes it hard for you to just even choose something. Like you're just sitting at home, it's like, oh, I want to order something to eat. Well, Chinese, you can get Vietnamese, you can get McDonald's, you can get pizza, right? It's just like,
Mm.
what do you want, right?
Mm.
It's like you're basically just like frozen making a decision. So obviously you're just gonna go for like the best one. Like if like when it comes to food, right? It's just like all the whole purpose is just to do one thing, to fill you up and make you not hungry. So right, there's like perceived best options, right? So maybe just like you have all these like you know ethnic foods and all that, and then you just got like your basic cheeseburger and fries. A lot of people like to gravitate towards things they're comfortable with. But what if just like you just think about all of this, and then all of a sudden someone, like your friend comes up to you or something like, "Hey, I brought you Chinese food. You want some?" Boom. Like, what are you gonna do? Say no, right? It's just like basically just all about position based. So like with online dating, right? If you're like a girl, you can basically like all of like females, they have the advantage of being picky because like basically all the dudes want like all the chicks, but all the chicks only want the best dudes, right? So they have the freedom to like pick and choose, and if they had the choice to, normally they're going to gravitate towards like the best looking people, which in the West is like white men, and also just like when it comes to like looks and all that. Do you know about like the halo effect?
I've heard of that.
Yeah, so it's basically like the perception that better looking people are better people, right?
Mm.
So basically, just like you see like a hot girl, you kind of automatically think that she's like a saint. She's like, you know, she has like a curvy body, and she's also Mother Teresa, that type of thing.
Mm.
In like reality, like the best looking people that were like born um, good looking, they usually like get entitled, right? So like
Yeah.
you think of you know white dudes, like because they're like socially accepted as like the highest tiered men, they usually get like cocky and entitled, and their personality reflects that. Like they get things easily, so they're like, I need to improve myself. I don't need to like be a better person. I have all these opportunities to go through. You know, just treat these people like sex objects because that's what they want. I have the numbers. Well, someone like me, right? My options are so limited that I have no choice but to improve myself in order to better my chances. And ironically, this makes me better as a person, right? Because now I'm just like, okay, maybe I said something weird. I have to fix that because I don't know when I'll be able to get like the next opportunity to talk to someone. Like I have to learn empathy. I have to, fix like my sound. And I actually have to like, clean up. Like, just something as simple as like taking a shower or like using like a fragrance. It's something that I have to learn. Like if you're not like pushed to this point where you need to do things like this, like you're just gonna show up, just without caring. You're just like, okay, I'll just put on a t-shirt and sweats and just show up to date. Where someone like me, like, I'm gonna take the time to present myself well. I'm gonna make sure that like everything is on point so that the girl that I'm talking to has a like good experience. What's funny is that I've actually gone on girls
Mm.
that have actually strayed away from dating and gravitated more towards minorities because of they dealt with. they tell me, oh, I dated like a white person in the past, and they this is how they were. They were arrogant. They didn't treat me well, and so they basically gravitate to like Asian men in life. They kind of like have like ultimately just like fear affect everyone. There's positive and negative stereotypes. So there are some positive stereotypes about like being Asian men. Like people think we're more caring, we're more like family based and all that. So that's what they find like these girls that I talk to, they're like, oh, I heard that Asian men, you guys are more empathetic. You guys, you guys have a greater understanding of how to be like a good person, and like your personality, your bio and all that kind of drew me to that. So it's just some type of interesting thing. But yeah, like just like all these factors, they were what pushed me a little bit. So like I again, I don't blame like society for the way it is. I just try to do the best I can in that aspect. And so I guess
Yeah.
when it comes to like my business, so I'm an online fitness coach, but I would like to focus more on the mentality part instead of the fitness part, because ultimately I like to think of your body as like an extension of your mental will. So if you look at someone like me, like I'm pretty cut, I got big arms, all that, but just what does all of this say about me? It says that I'm someone that takes care of myself, and you like compared to like other people, I do it very well, and that's because that's the truth, right? I care about my appearance. I care about my body to the point where like I want to do the best I can to make it the best I can, right?
Right.
So yeah, it all starts from your mind. Like you will set your mind towards doing certain things, and that's what you'll do. So if you're someone who just sits on the couch and eats crap all day, and then you don't care about yourself, right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Your body reflects that. Maybe you gain some like tummy rolls, or maybe you're still like scrawny and all that. Basically the way you think, that's what the action results from. So if you're someone that thinks, hey, I don't need to work out, I'm gonna stay at home, play video games all day, then you're just gonna be scrawny. And people generally don't like scrawny people.
Right.
I think like you have to get back and all that, but there's also a level of confidence that comes from this. Like I feel very confident now because of all the work that I put into myself. Because I like I understand how hard it is to go through this whole process. But all I did was just put in a little bit of work like every day. Like it's just a very long process. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So like but it's not gonna work like this for everyone, but just mainly for me, I basically just use my fitness as the framework for everything else, right? It was my pillar of competence, and my pillar of confidence. I believe anyone can get into fitness. Just like the principles of fitness basically adhere to everything the same. Like, yeah, there's physical disabilities, there's medical stuff that affects some people's ability to do certain things, but in the end, anyone can do like a workout. Anyone can take the time to start building the body that they want. All they have to do is they commit to it, and just like naturally, a lot of things can happen. Like obviously, like the confidence building, right? The muscle mass, the physical aspect. There's just so much you can get out of fitness, and yeah, even though I have business on this, like you can do this stuff for free. Like the only things that I paid for were like equipment and like so like protein powders and food and all that. I didn't pay anyone to teach me how to do this, but because of that, it took me a long time to get to where I am, right? When it comes to like any type of investment, it always comes down to time and money. So if you want to save a lot of time, you can pay a lot of money. Or if you want to save a lot of money, you can take a lot of time. So as someone who's been through like the whole process, like it took me like my whole journey took 7 years,
Mm.
but with all the knowledge that I've amassed, I'm able to like get people to work towards any type of fitness goals like within a week, and then
Right.
they're start working on taking care of physical neglect that took years in just like that period of time. So like I said, you don't have to pay anyone to do this, but I've gone through the process. I have years of experience and knowledge. So if you're someone who's looking to like guarantee and get like the structure to actually get these type of results in a short amount of time, then yeah, you can hit me up. I'm like I'm on a number of platforms right now. Like obviously you've come across my Facebook, but I'm also on Instagram. It's Vincent.99str, which stands for 99.
Okay. Yeah, it's great. And as far as like, your Insta and all your socials, contact information, all of that will be provided in the description below for this video. So everybody can, will definitely be able to yeah, everybody watching this will definitely be able to look it up and hit you up, that way. Oh yeah, man. Thanks. I know yeah, we're probably gonna close out now, but thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. Your journey sounds very, very interesting. Um, I hope that have you like, actually written anything about this? Have you ever like written a short like book about this at all, or considered it, or because it might actually sell? I mean, there's a big market for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might segue to like being a writer or something. Like I really like writing all of these like story-based posts like on my social media, like marketing myself. I like to use a lot of personal stories because like I fitness when it comes to me, right? It's more about my story than like me lifting weights and all that. Because in one of my posts, I mentioned this. Just like a lot of people that come to me, they're not looking to like get jacked. They're looking to rebuild confidence in themselves through their bodies. So like I had the epiphany that it wasn't like my strength that gave me confidence, but it was my confidence that gave me strength. And
Mm.
people relate to it. So yeah, I just like I'm very honest with myself and it helps draw more people to me. So I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing and maybe I can just compile everything, write a book and all that and call it good. I think confidence is just having the knowledge of your abilities, like just knowing that you're able to do certain things because you've gone through them. Like I'm confident that I could do like maybe like 50 push-ups at any time right now. But it's also just like there's a level of humility to it too, right? There's a huge difference. That's the difference between confidence and arrogance, right?
Mm.
It's like, yeah, I can do 50 push-ups at any time, but I'm not actively going out to
Mm.
show people I can do that. It's just something that like people like instinctively, well, not instinctively, but it's something that people can believe. So like you have to believe it yourself, right? Before
Mm.
anyone can do it for you. But I think just the best way to build confidence is just be present. Just if you have an idea of something that you want to do, just do it. Right? The
Mm.
Nike slogan, right? I know it's like vain and stuff, but I like to think of that Shia LaBeouf meme a lot all the time.
Yeah.
Just do it. Like, but that's the truth, right? Because if you don't play at all, you're never gonna learn, right? Like I mentioned the analogy of the boxing thing, right? I rather get beat down by like the regulars at the gym like 100 times before facing Mike Tyson once because
Mm.
I would, right? You need to like gradually learn how to do things over time, but also
Yeah.
just like the beauty of human life is that unexpected things can happen all the time. But the more you like learn and prepare,
Mm.
the better chance you have for like these opportunities when they come, right? It's like you don't want to like strive for perfection, but you want to like head in that direction. It's all about being opportunistic. Just like if you're looking for a job or anything like that, like you're not gonna like put all of your eggs in one basket. You're just gonna like, gradually build up the skills and also the presentation to apply for many jobs, so that when the perfect opportunity comes around, you're ready for it, right? You're
Right.
not just waiting for one opportunity. You're just gonna be ready for many, and you're just gonna take the one that comes for you, right? So obviously, this applies for dating, right? I'm at the point where I could probably date like a bunch of girls right now, but it's all about like, working towards just one, right? That's all I'm, worried about. So just get out there, just learn what you can, gain all the experiences, and then just keep doing it, right? Life is all about learning. Learning is a lifelong process.
All right.
And I still have plenty that I need to do and learn. So, coming from me, we're all in this together.